All right, guys, so we're going to really quick talk about coterminal angles and reference angles. With a coterminal angle, what you need to do is you need to understand that that just means that it's an angle that ends in the same exact place as another angle. So, for example, I could have right here. So we have our initial side right here, and let's say it goes this direction. And let's say it's 135 degrees. So it's 135 degrees going in this direction. Coterminal just means that it could have another degree measure, but it ends in the exact same space. So since we're talking about 360 degrees around the circle, really what you're doing to get a coterminal angle is just add 360 degrees. You could also subtract 360 degrees. That's what you're doing in order to find your coterminal angles, one or the other. You could keep adding more and more 360s, or you could take away more and more 360s. So really what you have is you have 135 degrees plus or minus 360 times however many rotations you do. That's how you find all of them. That's the equation to find every single one of them. So you could do 786,242 rotations, and that's what you would put in for n. And it's still going to get you a degree measure. All you do is just plug it in. So what coterminal means is they just begin and end in the same place. So for example, if I wanted to be very specific, I could say I have 135 degrees minus 360 degrees. And 135 minus 360 degrees gets me negative 225. So negative 225 degrees would be a coterminal angle to 135 degrees. I could take away another 360 degrees if I wanted to, and I could have negative 585 degrees by just doing subtraction of 360 degrees again. Or I could take 135 and I could add that 360 that I have written right here. And that would get me positive 495 degrees. All of these end in the exact same spot, and they all end right here at 135 degrees. And that's just going to get us the exact same measure all the way around. So right here in this example that it says identify all angles that are coterminal with the given angle. So what you're going to do here, well, maybe if this will scroll, it's giving me a hard time. Okay, I got it to cooperate. Okay. It says that we need to identify all angles that are coterminal with the given angle. Then give one positive angle and one negative angle that are coterminal with the given angle. So really what we have in order to find all angles that are positive, all angles that are coterminal with it, as I said in the last example, was really what you have to do is you have to do plus or minus 360 n. Okay? That's all you do, plus or minus 360 n. And then what we're going to do here is 86 degrees. Well, that's approximately, well, maybe a little steeper than that, but it's approximately right there. This is really hard to draw on this little sketch pad thing. All right, so we're saying that this right here is 86 degrees. So in order to find something coterminal to it, I'm going to draw the exact same line and say, okay, so instead of 360, or instead of being at 86 degrees, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a full 360 and go there. And if I did that, well, that's going to be 86 plus 360 degrees. And 86 plus 360 degrees is going to get us 446 degrees. So that's what that is. And that's coterminal to 86 degrees. We are going to do the exact same thing, but instead we're going to go the other direction a little bit. We're instead going to go negative this way. So we would do 86 minus 360. And 86 minus 360 gets me negative 274 degrees. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to do it again, but instead of going just this way, we're going to keep going. And instead of stopping right there, we're going to go around again. So now I have negative 274 minus 360. And that's going to get me negative 634. Those are all coterminal, meaning they end in the exact same spot as the other one. They just have different degree measures, but because we're spinning around in a circle, they're ending in the same spot. Now let's talk about reference angles. So the angle between the terminal side and the x-axis, that's what the reference angle is. So in this perfect example right here, we have 135 degrees. So 135 degrees, and the reference angle is this little area right here. So it's between the terminal side, so where it ends, and the x-axis. It's the quickest way to get down to your x-axis, or sometimes up. So in this example right here, what we're going to want to do is we're going to go ahead and figure out what that degree measure is. So we have 180 minus 135. And 180 minus 135 is going to get me 45 degrees. So that's what this is right here. That spot that I highlighted right there, that I colored in, this right here is 45 degrees. And that is what my reference angle is. Same thing over here. So I'm starting with 280 degrees right there, and all I need to do is figure out what the reference angle is. So the reference angle is, again, to the x-axis. So I'm taking that terminal side and I'm going to the x-axis. It's going to be the interior part of this angle right here, okay? And so it's a little bit weird to see that one just because of the way that the angle is, or that the picture is set up. But it's, again, it's just going to be the inside part right here. It's this inside part of the angle. So I have 280 degrees. Well, I need to figure out what's left here. I have this whole entire circle. So I'm going to do 360 minus 280. When I do 360 minus 280, well, I'm not going to get what I have written down. That's wrong. Okay, yes, 80. That makes a lot more sense. All right, it's going to equal 80 degrees. So I have 360 minus 280 gets me 80 degrees. And there is what I have in that spot right there to find my reference angle. Let's try these next ones. So right here in this third quadrant, what I'm going to have right here is, again, to my x-axis. So I'm drawing to my x-axis. It's going to be this angle here. It's what's left. So if this is negative 120, I've got 180 minus 120. And that's going to get me 60 degrees. Now notice, I'm saying it's 60 degrees, not negative 60 degrees. And that's because your reference angle is always 100% of the time going to be between 0 and 90. So it's going to be a positive value, and it's going to be a number that would get us in that first quadrant between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. So that's what you're doing. You're referring reference angle. You're referring to that first quadrant of what would be equivalent in the first quadrant. Again, this will make more sense once we actually get to the full-on unit circle and you get to see all those values. So 60 degrees is your reference angle for negative 120. Negative 330. Again, I'm just going to draw my little triangle here. I've got this whole thing, and it's this angle that's inside right here. It's this little space right here. So that angle itself is going to be 360 minus 330, which is 30 degrees. That's how you find your reference angles. Well, what if I don't have a picture? Draw one. 312 degrees, well, that's going to be greater than 270 and less than 360. So let's give that an approximation. We'll say it'll be about right here. So my reference angle is going to be this area here. That's between that. So I'm going to go 360 degrees minus 312. And that's going to get me 48 degrees. So you see, all I'm doing here is just drawing a picture and I'm figuring out, okay, what's left? What do I have and what's left? So like if this 312, we would have said, went like this. And if I look at the picture, I have a whole circle here. If I had kept going with that arrow, I would have a whole circle going around. What's left is 48 degrees. So that's how you do reference angles.